Hi everyone, and thanks for joining us at PMM Fest. Before this session starts, I just wanted to say a big thank you to all our sponsors, our partners, you, our festival attendees, and all our speakers too, because without all of you guys, none of this could have gone ahead and be the success that it has been. If you've not already checked it out, do check out our AMA site. Lots of our speakers will be heading over there after their sessions to take your questions and give their answers. So yeah, head over to the AMA site. That's all from me today. Enjoy the session.
Great stuff. Okay, VJ, take it away. I'll mute myself for your presentation and let's get going.
Thanks. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the session. I'm really excited to present winning competitive intelligence programs. So my whole focus for today is to give you a snapshot of competitive intelligence. And this is not the only way we do competitive intelligence, but this is one of the most critical important ways. And the complete rounding up of this information would be the next speaker, who does the win-loss analysis from Closed. So before I start, a quick introduction about myself. My name is Vijay Shankar. I'm the Vice President of Product Marketing. I work for a company called Uniphore here in California. What Uniphore does is we are in the transforming of customer experience space, focused on the contact centers. We deliver something called the conversational service automation, where we're able to seamlessly integrate conversational AI chatbots with artificial intelligence and workflow automation to truly transform the customer experience. So that's kind of the quick snapshot of Uniphore. So my agenda for today is going to be very short. I'm going to keep it short and simple, and hopefully we will be able to kind of have some conversations and some questions as part of this. So I'm going to go very straightforward. I'm a typical product marketer. I've been doing product marketing for 15 years, so I'll go into what is the problem. When we think about competitive intelligence, it's important to define what exactly is a problem you're trying to solve. That's really the most important aspect of things. Once you define the problem, it's about then what are your goals for the CI and the competitive intelligence program you plan to implement in your organization. I'm going to talk about specifically Clue over here. Clue is the competitive intelligence platform we used. I've used this at multiple places, including most recently at Uniphore. And so and it should tell you that if I've used that at 2 different places, that it is a pretty effective platform to really accomplish the goals of what we want to accomplish with CI. And how do you transform this into building the winning program? So that's kind of my quick agenda for today. And I really would like to share my perspectives in terms of how we went about this process at a couple of organizations in the past. So the first thing is, what's the key problem with competitive intelligence? So this is a age-old problem I've had. As I said, I've been in product marketing for 15 years, and when in every company I've worked in the last 15 years, which has been about maybe 4 or 5 companies, we always have the same problem. First thing is the competitive intelligence, the intel, is in the mind. It's in the minds of the select few. It could be the top-performing sales reps. It could be the subject matter experts. It could be the industry experts. Whatnot. It's in the minds of select few. It is not easily collaborated. It's also in gazillion different files and gazillion different formats, and in all over the place. So what happens from a product marketer standpoint is our single most important constituent for CI is our sales team, followed by the product management team. And in most often than not, what happens is when you have the information in the minds of a select few, and also in different places, one is a lot of people also who have been the subject matter experts are sometimes really biased in our thinking. We think that this is what the competitor did a few months back, and we think that's what it's going to happen a few months out. But the reality is competitors keep changing. So the content is very quickly outdated. Same thing with battle cards. I've seen battle cards created in Word documents or Google Docs or in PowerPoints or Google Slides. And the problem with that, again, whenever we look at the battle cards, these are always 6 months old, 8 months old, 9 months old. Now, when you put yourself in the feet of a salesperson, in the eyes of the salesperson, or even product management, when we're defining the roadmaps, when you see a competitive intelligence battle card or report, which is 6 months out, that you very well know that that's not the case today. Companies change very quickly. We find new competitors all over the place. very often. And also from a messaging standpoint, competitors change the messaging. Just like the way I'm looking at my competitors in my space, my competitors are looking at me to see what we are doing at Uniphore, and so that they can refine the messaging that way. So it's extremely important to find a solution. The problem is how do we get this data? How do we make sure that the data is always updated? It's in where you can get real time information, and then it goes to the second aspect: is how do you find the information? You find the information. One aspect is having the data being outdated. Second is the where to find the information. Do you have box folders? Do you have your SharePoints? What's your content repository system? Is it in the email of some salesperson? Is it in the laptop local hard drive? It's impossible. It's impossible to find in any of my previous companies. So the second problem is how do we make sure the key people who use competitive intelligence can access the information at any point in time, and they know that this content is really current and it's not outdated. And that's the key problem. Those are the two key problems. The two key problems being, how do we make sure that the content is current, and how do we make sure the content is easily accessible? And the third thing is, to make it current and to make it easily accessible, how do we simplify the process? How do we really make it less cumbersome and less tiring and more automated? So those are the three key problems what I've encountered in every company I've been, and which got me to, okay, so how am I going to go and solve this problem going forward? So my first instance was really looking at, what do we solve? So obviously looking at an automated solution to drive the competitive intelligence and enablement going forward. But before we get into that path, it's very important to define what my goals of effective competitive intelligence are. Because you don't want to buy a tool, you don't want to implement a tool which solves one aspect of things, but really it is different from the goals and the problems what you've had. So that being said, when I implemented Clue, or the competitive intelligence platform, at two different places, the first question I asked was, what are my goals? What are the goals we're trying to do to drive effective competitive intelligence? So in this case, what are my objectives? The three categories. What is my objectives? Ease of access and ease of distribution. Are my objectives, how do we easily update the information? And is also my objective integration with CRM. That's an extremely important bullet point, which I'll get to it in a second. So that's how I define my objectives. In the case of competitive enablement and competitive intelligence tools, we clearly define the objectives being, we want to make sure that the key people, the key organizations like sales and product management, they're easily able to access the information, and they're also easily able to ensure that the information is current and it can be easily distributed. And accessing the information means, they know where to find it. They don't need to send a bunch of gazillion emails or Slacks or Microsoft Team messages, and they can also access it through their mobile phone. And the third thing is, can they directly access it from their CRM? So in our case, we used Salesforce at two different places, including at Uniphore. And so can a salesperson who has identified a competitor access the battle card right from the CRM? And that's the absolute best way possible, because they have the information directly in front of them. So those were the key objectives. What we defined was, we want to make sure that it's easily possible to download get the information, easily possible to update, and easily possible for our sales teams and product management teams to access information. Second thing is, it's very important to differentiate between, are you truly trying to provide competitive intelligence, or are you truly trying to do competitive analysis? And those are two distinct capabilities, two distinct functions. And here's why. Competitive analysis, in my mind, is also doing the trending analysis, doing the win-loss, and trying to find out why you win, why you lose. What is your process for finding the information? What is your process of doing the win-loss interviews? And the next presenter is going to give you some interesting perspectives, and I've used them as well. Really, they focus more on the analysis piece of things, and really helps you build the information what you would need. And then you could use that win-loss information insights to drive the intelligence. And the intelligence is about how do you present all the information what you need, and then how do you drive this towards your salespeople so salespeople can use it at any time. And that's what is required. So those are two distinct things. It's important to identify what is the difference, what are you trying to accomplish. Second thing is, you need clean data. And in every organization I've been, the data really sucks, for lack of a better word. Salespeople are horrendous in terms of entering the competitive intel. So you have to work with the sales ops and make sure that the competitive field is a mandatory field. So once you enter it as a mandatory field, you kind of clearly have an understanding how often you see certain competitors, and then use this specifically for driving the next level of access and so forth. And lastly, I've always told this to every salesperson, or including product management, anything else. Competitive intelligence is always a two-way street. It is not a one-way street. It's not a job of product marketing to basically drive competitive intelligence, but it's actually a two-way street. It's important to get the information back. It's important to get the feedback from the sales teams and from the sales engineers so that you can update your battle cards in real-time format. The third thing of the goals of effective CI is, okay, once you've identified your objectives and defined what your intelligence analysis is, it's important to define what your ideal platform is. So which platform can best help you solve your objectives? How do you gather information? How do you create the information battle cards? And then how do you roll out to sales? And in all of these cases, in my case, my goal is very clear. I'm going to do the intelligence aspect of things, which is mostly focused on accessing information, collecting the information, curating the information, and presenting this to sales. And I found Clue was the best platform which we could use to solve the needs what I wanted for my organization. So that, with that being said, once you get all this information, the question is, I have no pun intended, I kind of said Clue, the Clue tool to help our sales team succeed. So we how do you package this information to battle cards? And it's clearly about, clearly packaging it in terms of how do you spot the competitor, how do you quickly dismiss the competitor, and then how do you create the supported strategy, which is where the battle cards information is. Here's where, you typically, the first two at the top, which is how to spot and quick dismiss, are more in cases where you think about situations where your salesperson is just trying to find out who the competitor is, and they're dismissing them quickly right away. Now, in most often than not, when sales typically enter stage 3 and above, it's always the support and strategy. And here's where you need to provide the extra level of information. What are the man minds? What are the FUD? Do you have any intel in terms of providing preemptive advantage? What are potential, how do you handle the objections? How is the approach to the market different? What are the key reasons why you win? What are the key reasons why you lose? What do you have any win stories against this particular competitor? Those are the kind of intel. What about if you have integrated with your Salesforce? Can you pull out the recent opportunities from closed won, closed lost, so that the salesperson who's looking at the battle card can then reach out to his peers to find out, hey, why did we win this deal at this particular competitor, this particular account, or why did we lose the deal? What is the reason? So they can accordingly formulate, and they can also, this actually helps them drive collaboration between your sales teams as well. The last thing, which we hope that most salespeople don't do, is about product by feature by feature comparison. And that's where you don't want your sales team to kind of start, but invariably you always, you want, I actually ideally would like to avoid creating these battle cards, but the necessary evil is you always want these battle cards because you really need, the sales teams really would like to know what the feature by feature comparison is. So this is the way we structured battle cards. So quickly, to kind of summarize the battle cards, we had 3 battle cards. One was just the basic public information of the customer, of the competitor. The second was the sales battle card, which included components like how to spot, quick dismiss, positioning, the FUD, objection handling, landmines. And the third battle card is basically the product by feature comparison, the pricing and discounting information. So building the winning program. So kind of how do you roll it out? So once we kind of typically did is what we did in my cases in both my companies where I worked and we implemented Clue was we said, okay, what are the top 3 competitors? And we kind of took a global approach to it, whether it's at Uniphore, whether it's the other company as well. We took a global approach to figuring out who our top 3 competitors are. And ideally, you don't want to be North American centric. So in our case, fortunately at Uniphore, as well as the other company, the top 2 competitors were the same globally. And then I just used the third one being the US one. Once we did that, we basically figured out what we have to do in terms of creating the battle card. So all the information up front isn't all over the place. So it's basically what we did was we got all the information in one place, and then we figured out how do we want to structure the battle card. Do we want to have some images? Do you want to have just present basic information up front and then have the click-through link so that they can get the details later? So we kind of really focused on all of this information. It's also very important to kind of really create the battle cards and then have it ready. One option is after you create, you have to update the battle card. So it's about being on top of things, trying to make sure that you send everybody to the same place for competitive intel rather than posting it in different places. But occasionally people do post it on Slack, they post on email. So it's important is for you as a CI person to take this information and put this back into Clue and update this on a frequent basis. So that way the battle cards are current, and you have the latest and the greatest information. That's the great part. So is roll out the battle cards, update frequently, make sure that your CI platform is a single source of truth going forward. Once that is done, the second aspect of things is performing the analysis on users and competitive trends. And here's where you're starting to get into the analysis aspect of things. So with Clue, the great thing was they actually provide us a great aspect of user analysis. So we could actually go and find out which the sales people who are using, who are not using, which battle cards were most frequently used, which are not which are not used at all. And then we're able to do the next level of detail, which is basically do the ROI impact analysis, where we're actually able to kind of make a correlation between people who use the Clue battle cards compared to battle cards. Are they closing deals faster? Are their selling price average, as the size of the deal lot larger, lot bigger than the other ones? With that, we can get an impact analysis, and it is a no-brainer why this thing actually impacted. So for my feedback at both my companies, once we rolled this out, we had tremendous amount of feedback from sales. It really helps salespeople be better prepared when they go and talk to customers. And that way, that was the ultimate goal in terms of what we're trying to do. The third thing which I want to talk about is once you enforce the discipline of adding competitive fields in the Salesforce or CRM, you can actually go back and do a bunch of different analysis and also build towards the win-loss programs. Just doing a quick time check. Okay, I have 30 minutes. I probably should be done soon. So the whole analysis. So you can do trend analysis, find out how often you're winning deals, what your win rates are. Clue, by the way, if you do the integration with CRM, you actually can pull out the win rate directly from Clue. But I wouldn't recommend you sharing that with all the salespeople because it kind of feeds into their self-fulfilling prophecy. That should be only for the executives, so that we executives like the VPs of product marketing, the VPs of sales ops and sales, they're able to see what the win rates are on a quarter by quarter basis. But what this trending the analysis also helps you is it helps you also shortlist the accounts you would need for the win-loss analysis, which you would be done by a third-party firm, which I would recommend. And whatever insights you get from the win-loss analysis, that goes back into Clue. So you see how all this kind of really works as a closed loop, which is why it's important to differentiate between intelligence and the analysis aspect of things. The third thing is definitely, as with any rollout of information, it's important to get the feedback from sales so that you ensure better visibility and usability. So for example, in the previous company where I implemented Clue, we had it very text heavy and all the information in the battle cards in just pretty much in one simple place. The problem with that was it appeared too dense from a text standpoint, and also appeared overwhelming in terms of what this required. So as a modification in that company and also at Uniphore, when we implemented, we just decided to keep just short bullet points at the basic battle cards and then provide links so that salespeople can click on the links and get the detail what they would need. So it is just better from a readability standpoint and also really useful from that standpoint. Also now we're starting to sprinkle in some images and graphics and so forth, so that this kind of breaks the whole mix in terms of usability. As it always, it's also important to find out how salespeople how we can make it better. I talked about making it a single point of truth so that it really is useful. So in closing, so this is by far my easiest justification of marketing spend. I just had to go and tell that this is what we need and here's what we need it for. And it's easiest justification, unlike any other spend what I've had to fight for. And it really has made my life easier in terms of just providing this intel. Again, I talked about my goals. My goals were, how do I ensure easy access, easy way to update, automated way to update, and automated way to distribute the intel. And this kind of really solved my problem. In the previous company, I added the competitive analysis portion of it, which was the win-loss analysis. I hope to do that same over at Uniphore as well, as take this on to the next level, which is adding the analysis portion, which is the postmortem, so that you can get additional insights down the road and then feed that back to the intelligence, which becomes your proactive way to kind of win deals. So this is an entire closed loop, so that it is one after another, so that way you can kind of be on top of things. And the last thing is always keep the feedback loop open. It's important that this is a two-way street, and I communicate this very clearly with my sales teams, to the point of telling them that, if there is something which we are not aware of and you guys are aware, please come and let us know, rather than just keep it within you, because that's the only way we can get better with this. It's a two-way collaboration. It is a two-way street, so that we can bounce off ideas and figure out what's working, what's not working. Because ultimately, we're trying to win more deals. We're trying to win improve our win rates, and that's what we're trying to do. So that's kind of my quick closing thoughts. So I hope the session was useful, and I really would go through my questions. I'll take some questions right now. All right. So I think Sebastian, you had a question located inside your CRM. No, my battle card is not located inside my CRM. My battle card is located on the Clue platform, which is a SaaS platform. But I have the integration with my CRM. So the way it works is in the opportunities tab of the CRM, if the salesperson has filled out the competitive field, there's a drop-down box which basically links to my Clue. So salesperson can actually just see view XYZ battle card or XYZ battle card. They click on it and it opens up the Clue instance right there. So it is not inside my battle card per se. It's just a hyperlink to open into from the Salesforce to open into the Clue on the Clue instance. How often will I communicate with my sales teams? So what happens? That's a good question you bring up. So I do, when we rolled out last week at Uniphore, we communicated. Then every week, Clue actually composes a digest, a weekly digest, which basically is a summary of all the articles. By the way, I didn't talk about all the different features of Clue, but there's a gazillion other features. It pulls in all the news articles. It pulls in all the alerts, pulls in the trust radius, G2 crowd information. We pull all of this, so we send a weekly digest to the sales team. So if you have updated any sales battle cards, it'll automatically get to the sales teams. But besides that, I used to do it once a quarter at least in terms of competitive updates. All right. I think there was another question which I saw as I was presenting. How often do you typically review your battle card to ensure they're updated? Yeah, so the update, that's a good question. So I normally... So Clue will always prompts you to review battle cards which are greater than a few days old. So that kind of is a forcing function. So they expect battle cards to be updated at least on a monthly basis. So I would say I would probably do it every 2-3 weeks in case I have, but some of the stuff is also very dynamic, because in case we hear anything new on a recent sales situation, we would go back and update. But in case not, if not, then we would just, do it on a monthly basis for sure. So definitely at a very minimum, it is a monthly basis. I've been in instances where I've updated on a weekly basis as well. It truly depends. There is a question without the ability of I think the question is, without the ability to experience competing products, how do you gain insights into product features and the outsources? That's a good question. So that's always the tricky part. I'm not going to share some of all the secrets what we can do over here, but that's where the tricky part is. Most often in most companies, there are instances where you pretty much have salespeople from other competing vendors, from your competitors in your team. So you build off of that. You have to do some analysis on your own by going through their company sites to see what they present on their websites in terms of their product demos and so forth. And there are other ways. Obviously, I can't share some of the other ways. I'm not going to share every of my secret over here, so I'll just leave it at that. And I think there's another question from Gaurav. We depend on sales anecdotal feedback for building competitive positioning. Okay, that is okay. Any other questions? I think these are all some good questions over here. I would recommend outsourcing the win-loss pieces. And I would definitely recommend, getting a competitive intelligence platform like Clue to kind of really help you with the information and linking back to all the insights, what you need, the public information, the frequent updates, the news articles, news alerts, everything. It really does a great job in terms of providing this. And then also the mobile access, the CRM integration, and so forth. With that, I think... any other questions?
Great, Vijay. Thank you. I just have one as well. So in terms of keeping data clean, how do you actually enforce that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So first thing is, in both the companies I've worked where I've implemented this, the data is pretty crappy. To use the much more civil language. So first thing is clean up, working with the sales ops to clean up to ensure that they have the right competitive pick list, and not having, like for example, in the previous company I was, for the same competitor, they had three different pick list items for the same competitor, just the way they added the names. So we kind of cleaned that up, just add one name, so the uniform public level name. So we cleaned it up that way. So that way, future deals were all linked to that. And then it's just about enforcing discipline with your sales ops team, so that salespeople can really drive the level of information what you need. So that way we have the clean data what we need. Ultimately, it's important to think who needs the data. So I needed the data. I needed a specific set of fields. So I was able to provide that required fields to sales ops, and they were able to implement it so long as they knew why we're doing it.
Sure. Okay. I think that's everything. Thank you so much for the presentation. I'm sure people are going to find that incredibly useful and get their salespeople securing more deals. So a big thank you, Vijay. A big thank you to everyone in the chat and everyone who asked a question. Do you have any final comments?
No, I think that's it. I really had a great time presenting to the Product Marketing Alliance. I know Josie King and we tried to do something last year, but it didn't work out. But I'm really glad to be present my perspectives on this. If in case any of you have any questions, look me up on LinkedIn and shoot me an email. If not, I look forward to presenting at the next Alliance meeting on some other topic.
Great. Thanks, Vijay. Okay. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Hopefully see you at another session soon.